I'll call to order the, what are we in, February Finance Committee meeting. Miss Adams will not be here today. She had a death in the family and the funeral was today, so she's down at South Carolina at her aunt's funeral. And Miss Burke is coming, but she's going to be just a few minutes late. So with that, we will get going. As always, we will start with the consent agenda. Mr. McIntosh, is there anything you would like pulled off?
I would like to see C3.
C3. Anything else?
That's it.
Can you give me a motion to approve the balance?
Motion to approve the balance.
I will second. Push the button.
There we go.
Okay, Jeff, if you'll vote, we'll get it done here.
Got it.
All right. Okay, that is approved. We will now go to C3. If the secretary will read that one, please.
Item C3, information concerning automated vehicle location services.
Ms. McIntosh, you want a quick presentation?
Please.
If you could give us a 3-minute presentation, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah, we, council approved back in August a 3-year commitment with RMJ, which is a third-party reseller for AVL services for Verizon. And back in the fall, Verizon sent a note to all third-party resellers basically saying we're taking advantage of our option to cancel all contracts. And so we're in a transition phase. We have to cancel the contract with RMJ and start a new contract with Verizon directly. And this is an informational. I'm working with Verizon to get a GSA contract, which will be cheaper than what we're paying now with the elimination of third party, and come back in March asking for approval of 1 year, and then the new models, they'll do 1 year with the monthly renewal going onward.
My question was, we've been pleased with the service, right? I mean, overall.
Yeah.
So we're basically going to switch horses here. We're going to go with a different.
Same solution.
Same solution.
We're basically Verizon has 3 tiers. They have the good, the better, and the best. And we're using what's called network fleet.
Okay.
And RMJ or the third party sell that solution, and the cellular services still come through Verizon. So
right.
No matter which third party you're using, Verizon's getting 90% of the profit. So we're going to have the same solution. Where we may step back a little as James Mitchell may not get the same slick custom reports he gets today. He'll get
right.
more generic from Verizon. But the same overall solution, no change in devices at this point in time.
Okay. So we feel pretty comfortable we're going to get the same level of quality of data.
Yep.
And are we doing the analysis mostly on our own? Or just
James does a lot. We get the raw data, and James does a lot. And I made a comment in the item that he's doing a report for you off for a key work item.
Okay, great. That was the question.
We're on C3. Okay. Has management been pleased with it? Okay. McIntosh, would you like to make a motion?
Motion to approve?
Well, this is just for information.
I'll take an approval.
So you're going to bring it back in March
Yes.
as a motion, as an item.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We only pulled one thing off consent. Is anything you wanted pulled off? I'll be happy to do it.
Yes, sir. It is, I'm pulling back up, contract with the wildfire with the fairgrounds.
C6.
C6, is that the right one? Let's just be sure we, bear with me 1 second. We're going to pull C6 back off. If the secretary would read that one, please.
Item C6, resolution awarding contract for advertising services for the Dixie Classic Fair to Wildfire LLC in the amount of $690,000.
Would you like for Ben to present anything?
Yeah, just in terms of walk me through.
Could you walk us through just kind of 2 minutes on it? Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman Clark, members of the City Council. Excuse me. So back in December, the Public Assembly Facility Commission had recommended wildfire, and then that item came forward to finance. At that time, there were concerns about wildfire being the selected proposer. And so at the direction of council, the city went back and looked at our process for contracting for services. We've now added weights for NWB participation, as well as whether a proposer is a local business. And then the remaining weights in a particular service are based on experience, price, whatever that particular service would require in terms of an evaluation. So at the end of January, the city received a new round of proposals. when we started the new RFP process, we did advertise the RFP not only on the city's website but on the state purchasing website, so there was more outreach involved in the second go-round. A staff evaluation panel evaluated the 4 proposals that we received. 3 of the 4 proposals are local businesses. 2 of them are 2 proposals are women-owned businesses, and 1 is a minority-owned business. All 4 proposers met the requirements to get full points for NWB participation, and the requirements for that would be either that the proposer is an NWBE company or they are committed to subcontracting 10% of the value of the contract. In this case, Wildfire did present the documentation showing that they would contract out 10% of the value of the contract to NWBE firms. So based on that, and then the evaluation panel's review of all the proposals, and Wildfire's experience, the availability of their staff during the fair, their expertise with social media, the staff recommended Wildfire as the selected agency. That item then went to the Public Assembly Facilities Commission earlier today, for their review and recommendation, and they did adopt a resolution recommending awarding the contract to Wildfire LLC. And so now the item is before Finance today. One other point too about the process I want to mention as far as the NWB participation. Wildfire, if they are selected, will be required to provide regular reports on their progress in meeting their NWB commitment. They'll have to provide documentation showing that they are spending the pledged percentage on NWB companies.
Go ahead.
A couple questions, concerns, comments in reference to the contract itself. One, the original contract, was it for 3 years? The original proposal that went out before, it was a 3-year contract. Was the former one a 3-year contract as well?
The current one, it would be a 3-year contract as well.
Well, I'm saying, what was in place before?
Beforehand, I believe it was a 3-year.
It was a 3-year contract. Okay. And I know that when this went back out in terms of there were some process tweaks and some questions, one concern that I have, and I'm sure staff will tell me that that's not the case, but the appearance looks as though the construction of the protocols were created to sufficiently accommodate who has been selected for the contract. And I'm just saying what it looks like. And so I want to make sure that even if that's not the case, that we don't give the appearance of those things when we're engaging in tweaking certain things, that if we're saying to the public that we're looking at making sure that things are open and opportunity exists, that that's the realistic expectation that people can have when they're contracting. Further, I would like to know and see very specifically the what that intent is, who they intend to have the contract with to carry out the 10% minimum on the MWB requirements. What company that is, who they intend to do it, what relationships exist there for them to be able to carry that out. And then looking at their diversity numbers overall, that, again, there's 32 individual employees, and there's no racial diversity within the organization at all. And so, again, for us as a community, when we look at how we do contracting, when we're working with individual firms, these are questions that we should ask, should bring to the table, and I think it's important for us to raise that up when we're having these kind of dialogues as well. For that, until I see particularly who they will contract with, who the service provider is, I won't be able to support it. You all may recall, and there's nothing against Wildfire, I think they do good work, but when we think about advertising, when we think about people creating depictions, you all may recall just here recently there's been a lot of hoopla around the H&M advertising, where they had a little boy in a shirt that was an international advertisement, and it had a monkey on it. It was African-American male, and there was a lot of pushback in terms of them using that. And what I raise to folks is that the challenge often is that there was nobody in the room who had the cultural sensitivity to say, maybe that's not the best method of advertising or putting things out. And I think for us as a community, when we look at the base of folks who come to the fair, we have to make sure that that's an inclusive conversation that's a part of designing advertising, designing advertising and reaching the diverse group of folks who come and participate in the fair. But those are my thoughts.
Okay. Can we get with them?
We'll provide that information before Monday.
And that was specifically which minority and female companies they anticipate working with?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We'll get that for you.
Motion to approve?
Well, we've already approved it since
Oh, that's right.
you've
We just had
addressed
it.
your comments. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. Paperwork down. All right. That is all the consent items. We will now go to the general item. We'll do G1. Secretary, read that, please.
Item G1, resolution approving financial assistance to the clearinghouse.
Who would like to?
Good afternoon.
Mr. Page?
That's me.
Tell us about this.
Okay. This item authorizes over a 5-year period providing economic development assistance of $147,834 to the clearinghouse. In turn, they would invest $25 million and create 50 new jobs with an average wage of approximately $98,360. They'll do that in the first to second year of their expansion here in Winston-Salem. Currently, they're already here, have about 175 employees working for the company. Of the employees that they currently have, about 40% are local, with 22% of those being Winston-Salem, 18% of those being Forsyth County residents when I define local. In addition, 36% of the workforce is minority, with 21 of that being African American. The company also has 32% of its workforce as female. The city's assistance to the company will equal approximately 50% of the net new taxes generated by the project over the first 5 years of the project. As part of their commitment to the community, the company has also agreed to hold some type of job fair in the community, as well as have conversations with Winston-Salem state representatives about possible partnership opportunities. Representatives are here from the company today, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Item would be scheduled for a public hearing the first Monday in March, which I think is March the 5th.
So we would have a public hearing at the first March meeting?
Yes, sir.
Of the council.
Correct.
And then we would vote on it at the second meeting.
No, you would vote on that
That
meeting.
night too, okay.
Correct.
So it'll all be on the agenda in roughly 3 weeks.
Correct.
Any questions from anyone up here? I see someone from the chamber and other folks. If y'all would like to make any comments, if anyone in the audience would. That's fine. Unless there are questions, Mr. Montgomery has an item.
Just as good to hear again, looking at the diversity numbers. That was one of the specific conversations that was had in reference to employment opportunities, understanding that the level of jobs that these are in terms of the skill set, that there's a higher level skill set required for these jobs, but also understanding that there are a diverse subset of people in this community and around the community that have those skills to work in these jobs. And so I look forward to, and I know that spoke with Councilmember Adams earlier today, and she also echoed the sentiment that we shared in that conversation around diversity in employment opportunities. So it's not just on this instance, but all of the incentive conversations that we have these same conversations on making sure that everybody has opportunities and access to the jobs that we have in the community, and how can we create more pipelines for diversity and inclusion in reference to those. And so it would be something at some point in time from those who are here to have a conversation around the specifics on what partnerships and what opportunities will develop. I can understand a verbal commitment to having conversations, but really what's the teeth around creating those partnerships.
Okay. Mr. McIntosh?
Yeah, I know this isn't a done deal yet, but I just want to say thank you for giving us the shot at the deal. This, to me, seems like exactly the type of business that we want to have grow here, clean business, good wages, the intelligence community working here. And the fact that it's as diverse as it is, I think, is really a credit. And we really appreciate, like I said, the shot at the deal, and hope you decide to do your expansion here.
I'd like to echo that. And also, the better the job you do, the less float we have. I just realized that. Yeah, it used to take y'all 3 weeks to clear a check. Didn't have to worry about it. Now it's 24 hours. But anyway, we're glad you're here. You certainly serve a very, very vital function in making the wheels of of commerce turn in this country. So we're glad that we can be a part of it and look forward to working with you. Can I get a motion on this?
Motion approved.
We have a motion approved. I'll second. I mean, we've got to push the buttons here. We got to go all the way up to the satellite, all the way back down.
You guys can clear a check quicker than we can.
There we go. There we go. All right. Okie doke. That's done. So G1 is approved. We'll now go to G2.
Item G2, presentation on fiscal year 2018-2019 early budget forecast.
Reese, you have the floor. And by the way, Mr. Montgomery, I believe we have to look at this one or that one.
have to look at
This
that
one.
one.
They're not functioning properly, so.
It's fake news.
Budget cuts, yeah. You have to look at this one.
Good evening, Chairman
Evening.
Clark and Council. Today, I'm presenting the early budget forecast, and this is a forecast just based on the information we currently have.
If you hold one
for-
second. It'd be appropriate, maybe we could turn that a little more parallel so maybe some of the people in the audience could see it. If somebody, see if we can. We've got it on the screen, yeah. If y'all don't mind looking at our screens and that way everybody can see it. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All
Continue.
right, okay. So first, we wanted to start with where we are for the current year ending June 30th, 2018. We budgeted for our adopted budget $200.8 million, and we, with $2 million in fund balance that we did not anticipate spending, for a total adopted budget of 202.8. For our estimated year end, as I mentioned, we project not to use any fund balance, and so we should end the year balanced at $200.8 million.
And we've got roughly 4 more months, 4.5?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, so moving forward to fiscal year 2019, we are projecting our expenditure budget to be $208.4 million in expenditures, and that's just currently what we are aware of, and I'll talk a little bit about what's in there. And then our anticipated revenues is $206.7 million, and once again, that includes the $2 million in fund balance appropriation that we do not anticipate spending. So our current gap is $1.7 million. That does not include a few other things that may come up, such as our compensation and classification study, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Some of the drivers for our expenditures for the FY19 budget is an increase in employee compensation. That's $4 million. That includes a 2% average merit, 2% public safety supplement, and a minimum wage increase to $12.50 an hour. We anticipate some new facilities coming online. The Union Station bond project operating costs for a full year, which is $158,000, and Long Creek pool expenses, which includes personnel, at $178,000. So that total is $336,000. We have our Fire Safer Grant local match is $176,000, and we have some sanitation carts that we are adding to our budget just for ongoing replacement of the rolling carts for curbside collection.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
do we hold questions or?
Yo, go ahead. This is
Question in reference to the Union Station piece. The 158 that you mentioned, is that net new expenditures, or does that include the total operations?
Total new operations that's anticipated to actually run the facility as it comes online.
Okay, and it would be helpful for me just to know like what that number is. So is that utility costs for the facility? Is that
That's
a person that's working in there, something? Does that take into consideration if they're our tenants in the building that they're, just one in terms of offset costs.
Be nice to know the details.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, it includes custodial services, premises maintenance, and security. That's what that.
If you could just get it
And I'll
back.
get back to you.
That'd be
on
fine.
those
Good
specifics.
question.
At this point, it's the gross number. We have not put anything in there for revenues at this point.
Okay.
Mr.
I'm good. That answers my
Good.
question.
Okay.
Okay.
I would like to know what a fire safer grant is, but you can give us information on that.
Okay.
You don't know what that is?
You don't remember? Tell me about it. Is that the thing we did off budget?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
We will give you details about the SAFER grant.
And also on the sanitation cards, I suspect they have a useful life, and there's 80,000 of them, and 10 years. That's about right. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
And by the way, feel free to just nod when you have a question. Please continue.
Moving forward to the revenue side, we will receive some tax numbers from the tax office next month. But for property tax, we are assuming a 1.3% growth. Like I said, that's an early estimate. That will give us $2.37 million over our projected current year. For sales tax, increase of $1.1 million is our estimate. For license and permits, this is an increase mainly due to a one-time Duke Energy panel replacement. That'll be approximately $400,000 in there, and they're replacing residential panels. So we'll get some revenue for the inspections. Charges for service is showing a decrease of almost $400,000. And in our miscellaneous category, we receive an increase of $305,000. That's due to renegotiated a school resource officer contract.
Okay, Ms. McIntosh.
What goes into charges for service?
The charges for services, the major driver for the decrease is our bulk collection service. That was $307,000. There are several things that are in there, and it balances out to a net loss, but that's the largest loss, the bulk container program.
Seems like a pretty big swing year over year.
And
Go ahead.
why?
Yeah, what's
Ms. Turner, you want to take that one?
No. But
But you
I
will.
will, yes. Essentially, it's a function of how we compete in the market. We are competing against the private sector, and if they choose to be more aggressive, then we have a reduction of revenues. We are looking extensively into what we can do in order to improve that financial situation by the end of the year, but that's what the projection looks like for next year.
Okay. Thank you.
I think we also we're going to look as well at whether we need to stay in the business. I mean,
Yeah, that's what
it's a difficult business to stay in. We're part of the reason we're in it is to ensure at least that amount of flow goes to our landfill. But there are plenty of other cities who don't do bulk containers. So that's the question of can we continue to afford it? We would make sure that their equipment operators, no one would lose their jobs. We'd have other positions for them.
Yeah.
Well, what goes in the bulk container?
Yeah,
These are the big ones,
Dumpsters.
the apartments and things.
tipping charges for dumpsters.
Dumpsters.
Yeah.
Is that primarily?
Yeah.
what we're
So
talking
like the ones that are outside of the apartment complexes?
Yeah.
Or restaurants or businesses.
Restaurants.
anything I have.
So we compete with at least 2 other private companies.
I don't know who takes mine, I just write the check.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. As I mentioned before, there is a compensation and classification study that's currently being conducted. We don't have the results from the study currently, and that should be coming really soon. Some of the objectives of the study is similar to last year. Just to make note, they will look at some it helps with internal equity and external competitiveness. They'll also provide a recommendation for the framework for achieving a minimum pay of $15 an hour by the year 2021. And they are updating job descriptions for all the positions. This study is including 1,100 employees representing 27 departments. And these are administrative, department head type of positions, but it also includes the police, sworn police and certified personnel as well.
And we have roughly 2,400 employees, 2,500, so it's about 40%.
It's about
Almost
50%.
half. Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
This is There's not a number in the budget right now for this estimate, but it will be significant.
All right.
The next chart is just a teaser slide just to make you aware of what will come forward in terms of the Stormwater Management Fund. These are the cash flow projections, and the blue line shows a no rate increase. And so as you see the blue line by the year 2023, we kind of fall off the cliff if nothing is done. The orange line is a rate increase, and that particular line adds a rate increase of 8% annually starting in 2019 through 2021, and then 3% going forward. And then the third line, which is the grayish looking line at the top, includes a rate increase and a issuance of about $10 million in debt in FY19, and then a rate increase of 9% for a few years, then 5% in 2023, and then a 3% in 2028. So those are kind of some three options that staff put together for some of the rate increase projections.
What's the event that occurs in 2023 that causes the big dip there?
13 million.
Mr. Chairman, what we did is we went and evaluated the various projects that are going to be coming online, and so we pushed a bunch of them out. So that probably would be something like the 7th Street Stormwater Project, one of the big expensive projects was pushed out to that year. But these are all based upon projections of future projects.
But that would be financed with bond money, right? And so the dip that occurs here would be reflecting bond payments.
No, it'd be funded with cash pay-go normally, unless it was a very expensive project and we didn't have the cash.
Okay,
then
so
we would go into the bond.
So a $13 million project we would do as pay-go.
If we
Okay. Thank you.
It would be appropriate, and you certainly don't have to get it by the next meeting, and maybe this would go through the Public Works Committee, but a very comprehensive look at, okay, here's the revenue we get each year, here are the big projects, and also some comparison of our rates with other cities and this, that, and the other. And you don't need to get that by next week. I think that's something maybe even part of the budget process when we talk about it in May or whatever.
We plan to bring something to Public Works as a
Yeah.
primer on that as well. If I can understand.
Yeah. And I think Public Works is the appropriate committee to go through on that. Okay, thank you.
All right. So the last slide is the budget review calendar. These are dates that we've just kind of set. Of course, they can be changed. But on Monday, April the 3rd, is when we would do an overview of the strategic plan and a trial balanced budget. This would also include, from the Office of Performance and Accountability, is conducting a survey, a resident survey, and so he will have the results at that meeting as well. We plan to have the city manager's proposed budget by Thursday, May 24th. And then you see the list of workshops in May and June, and then the adoption projected to be June 18th.
Okay, and typically, you don't have it on here. Typically, public safety looks at their budgets.
Well, we can do a...
Yeah, I know there's more
review.
more
Yes.
detail of this. Okay. Well, I compliment the staff on getting this year under control. I know we've had a little bit of belt tightening in the last few months, so that's encouraging. And Ms. Cruz, when do you think you're going to have that big study done?
I expect that it will be in the budget when you present.
The trial balance, hopefully.
Are we doing it or someone outside doing it?
Springstead is doing it. They're supposed to do one last year.
Okay. All right, thank you. Yes, sir.
So it looks like we're looking at an $8 million bump in operating costs. right? Not aside from sort of capital costs, but our ongoing operating budget from 17, 18 to 18, 19. Is that about right?
Right, that's right.
Okay,
yes.
so, and $4 million, that is a swag number on what the employee compensation is going to cost us, but we don't really know
We
that.
don't know that one, yes.
Okay.
So it could be much larger than that.
But
Right.
that doesn't include, that $4 million does or does not include her study?
Does
No,
not.
we have
Does
not
not.
included
That
this.
$4 million is just the base for normal merit.
Underlying.
Yeah.
It's the 2% average merit, 2% public safety, all that.
Right.
Okay. We need to find some ways to cut some money out of the budget. I mean, I haven't gotten much pushback from people on the bonds. I think people see that they're going towards, built projects, but I get a lot of pushback from my constituents on how much we're spending year over year on operating. What are the ways that we can substitute technology? What are the ways that we can trim money out of here? I always ask the city manager about, how much of a fluff is there in our payroll for positions that won't be filled. But to me, this budget needs a lot of work, or else we're going to go up. We're going up on property taxes for this as well as bonds, and then I think we get a lot of heat from our citizens.
Well, Mr. Garrity, I know we'll be getting a lot of folks' input on the budget as we get forward to it. I think that's the last item we had under, and this is just for information. Thank you very much. Bear with me a minute. Anything else somebody wants? City Attorney, if you'll hold for 1 minute after the meeting, I have something I just want to ask you separately. Other than that, we are finished early, which is an indication of good management or fewer people here to talk. We're adjourned.